You know what our biggest enemy is in America? Our fellow Americans.
Frankly, we know that we can't trust the unvaccinated.
Now is the time to do what you're told.
This is not about freedom or personal choice.
No, screw your freedom.
People who are incubators for every variant to come, walking around lawfully unvaccinated? That's psychotic.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin. And your refusal has cost all of us.
Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo? Rest in peace, Wheezy.
The unvaccinated overcrowd our hospitals. We're overrunning emergency rooms and intensive care units, leaving no room for someone with a heart attack or pancreatitis.
You're a schmuck.
This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Their freedom. I want my.
What we're seeing, I'm convinced, is the tip of the iceberg. The biggest published series of myocarditis before the pandemic, across decades and decades of accumulating data, was 500 cases. In my practice before the pandemic, I had only seen 2 cases of myocarditis, and one of them was fatal. Now there are papers, Lane et al. In the British Medical Journal Open, 18,000 cases in a single manuscript. I am seeing dozens and dozens of cases. In my practice, I have well more than several hundred cases with myocarditis. That is how common it is. And it's sad to say I don't have a chance to see all of those who've died of a cardiac arrest. In the Holscher paper that I've quoted, the cause of sudden adult death syndrome is very likely to be vaccine-induced myocarditis. And it may be so sufficiently subtle, it couldn't be detected on an MRI, even if we got one. But I have seen cases evolve and present now 3 years after the vaccine, with documented cardiac arrests 3 years after vaccination.
There is no evidence that the vaccinations increase your risk of clots. COVID significantly increases your risk of clots. You've got to remember that. So getting COVID is bad news. And if you're clot prone, it's especially bad.
The AstraZeneca COVID vaccine is being withdrawn worldwide after the pharmaceutical giant admitted it causes a rare and dangerous side effect. AstraZeneca admitted the claims in court documents lodged in February. Parent company Vaxzevria has come under intense scrutiny in recent months over a rare side effect which causes blood clots and low blood platelet counts. AstraZeneca told the court that it can, in very rare cases, cause clots in the kidney.
Let that sink in. We have a government following a UN, globalist, Bill Gates, Peter Daszak, Anthony Fauci operation. They did it as a plan to see if they get away with it. And could they lock us in our houses? And would the police attack us and take us to jail if we left our houses? Could they then push a poison shot on us that all the studies show and what top scientists warned beforehand would happen? Massive cancer increase. New Scientist reports cancer mystery as cases rise among younger people around the world. And we have the list of countries. It's all the countries that took the Moderna.
People are now coming around because you've been fighting to have this debate for quite a while, haven't you?
Well, the evidence was pretty considerable 18 months ago when I first spoke out. I mean, it's overwhelming now. Every week there's more evidence. Paper out last week in Japan of a clear link now between people who've had the boosters and increased cancer. We know why. It's the SV40, the simian virus 40 promoter region that Pfizer didn't disclose are in their vaccines. I mean, there's a clear link with promoting cancer.
This vaccine, if you can call it a vaccine, is a new technology applied to almost the entire global population without showing adequate levels of efficacy and safety. And in fact, my first reaction when I heard it was going to be a vaccine, the mRNA, was no, this is too dangerous. When you hear about being wrapped up in a lipid nanoparticle, we know it's not going to stay in the deltoid muscle. It would never stay in the deltoid muscle as we were promised. It travels all around the body. It travels to the brain, to the heart, to the blood vessels, travels to the testes and the ovaries. And this is why we're seeing so many people suffering from serious adverse reactions, including a lot of heart disease, degenerative central nervous system type disorders, autoimmune diseases, and certainly many, many problems, gynecological problems, female problems. This also contains DNA fragments, and DNA and mRNA can transcribe and end up in the nucleus of our cells, including our germ cells. This is so risky, it should never have been injected into a single human being ever.
It's a survey of 99 million drawn from public databases, so these are government databases. There was very strong statistical correlation and 3 key types of adverse events. There's the cardiac damage, there's the sinus thrombosis, so in the brain, blood clots, and Guillain-Barré syndrome, this autoimmune associated paralysis.
1,615,998 reports of adverse events have been successfully filed to VAERS in the context of the COVID-19 injectable products, with a staggering 1,013,442 reports filed in 2021 alone.
When the news is poisoned, so is democracy, because we've stopped debating about what's right, and instead we waste our time arguing about what's true.